good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. As we continue our conversation this morning, we're speaking with the former Secretary for Community Development and Culture, Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt Angus, and she is in studio with us. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
It is a
Shenell.
pleasure to
Thank
have
you.
you this morning. Now, we're talking about the 2024 Tobago Heritage Festival, and we see that the calendar of events has changed significantly from what we know it to be. Now, there have for a long time been a conversation in this space about how do we transform the Tobago Heritage Festival to remove that level of monotonous, mundane feeling of seeing the same thing over and over every year. But even as changes are being made, we see that a lot of pushback is happening and persons are opposing the new structure. Tell us a bit about your idea surrounding this new Tobago Heritage Festival that has been proposed for 2024.
Well, for me, I am very disappointed because it tells me that persons don't understand what the Tobago Heritage Festival is about. And you go to Broadway and you see plays that have been going on for years and for generations. It's the same play. So why are we thinking that you don't want to see the same thing every year? Because my understanding is that they present it in a different way, but the values and the traditions that you're attempting to preserve and to teach are maintained in that production. Even though the script may be slightly different, you get the understanding of the traditions that you're trying to pass on from generation to generation. And so I don't think that that idea of you want a new model for something different, it doesn't play within the Heritage Festival when you take out the classics such as the Pembroke Salaka Feast, your Lekoto Tales and Superstitions, your Black Rock Sea Festival and Pan Festival, your I haven't even seen Canaan mentioned in terms of the way we grew as children. And so what you have really is a paltry offering. I feel as if, the heritage has been desecrated, our culture has been desecrated because we truly don't understand the value of it.
Right, and do you think that it has been taken away, or a number of these communities just simply refuse to participate?
Well, I've done my research, and some of the communities have actually put forward their proposals and they were refused. And yes, some of the communities decided they didn't want to participate. Now that presents another question. Why didn't they want to participate? Is it that they no longer have persons to perform to do the performances with the community, and therefore that speaks to a larger issue of culture and the community development. Where are the officers who are training? Is there a sustainable program to train persons within communities such that we have a sustainability of the culture going forward for generations to come? So it speaks to a larger issue when a community decides, okay, well, I don't feel that I have the capacity to put on this show this time. And therefore, what is being done to address that? How did we get to this level? Because you mentioned, yes, I was a former Community Development and Culture Secretary. And back then, we understood you had to put the programs in the community to ensure the that any future generation can take up and carry on the mantle of this heritage festival in your community. Because let me tell you, the heritage festival is not just a commission spending money. When you have a heritage festival in the community, the seamstress, she makes the costumes. He or she makes costumes. I say they because it's more than one. They make costumes. They outfit people who want to put on something nice to go to the heritage. The makeup artists get work. The taxi man gets work because people come from other communities to go there. And then the rest of the private sector gets work, because when these persons who perform get their monies, you also have the business people who come out and sell a little sauce, sell a little fried chicken, sell a little this and that. When they get their monies, they then spend, because they get monies that they could buy a new shoe for the child. They get monies such that, you can participate in graduation. You get money so that, the child has a book list for next year. You get money so that you can put basic food on the table for the family. The Heritage Festival is an opportunity to stimulate the economic vitality of the communities. And when you begin to strengthen that begins to get expressed in the larger economic development of the island. You cannot build a house on a weak foundation and expect the house to stand up. Communities are the foundation and the bedrock of the growth of this island, more than anything. And it tells me that this administration does not understand that. At a time where the economy has already been destroyed, this was a great opportunity to stimulate the economy at the level of the communities, such that people can catch themselves again and begin to feel as if, okay, I could go out and do something different. I could go out and work now. I can do something different for my family. It gives them hope. Right now, people are feeling very hopeless out there. They don't know where next to turn.
And what do you say about the idea of, kind of staggering the shows in a way where one community might get to showcase this year, but then not the other year, in order to really keep the excitement alive for that show?
So are you telling me that it's okay, well, I have to wait till next year to put food on my table? It goes bigger than that. You have to understand it's bigger than that. And so the way we dealt with it when I was there, recognizing that, is that we had the classics, because people travel, the diaspora travel to see the classics. When you have somebody paying their ticket to come home for 2 weeks for a packed heritage, and you now give them a month with so many days in between with nothing to do, that's not value for their money to travel to come. So you have to understand what attracts the diaspora. And so you have the classics, and then you have the year-round experience, where once a month on a weekend, you pull the other communities that have not been involved so that they can have a weekend. And therefore, whether the diaspora comes during that week or whether people from Trinidad come, you have something of heritage that people can experience at least once a month on a weekend. So that is what we had put in place to address that issue. But again, it really is sad.
Right.
On all fronts, they have missed the mark.
And we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back, and we'll be continuing our conversation on the Heritage Festival 2024 with Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt Angus. See you soon, guys. Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. We continue our conversation on the 2024 Heritage Festival. And before we get along with our conversation, I want to ask you guys to put in the comment section, which one of the festivals were you looking forward to going to? And if that is still happening, if not, how do you feel about not being able to attend? Because we know some of the festivals like that Pembroke Salaka Feast, as well as the Lescato show would not be on this year. So let us know, what community shows do you usually always go to or always look forward to? Put it in the comment section. Let us know so we get an understanding of what are some of the shows that people really truly like. Now, when it comes to putting on a heritage festival show within the communities, a number of persons have come out and spoken about the difficulty in getting the resources needed to put on the show, specifically the money that they need. How did you do it in your time? How did community development and culture do it in terms of uh, giving the resources to the community groups to prepare for the festivals? Were there community officers who went in to ensure that the production was well set up and established and training was done? What was done at that time?
Absolutely. At that time, you had the combination of community development and culture. So the collaboration between community development officers and cultural officers happened during that period at the greatest. And you definitely had to have officers going in and talking with communities, helping them to even complete the project proposal, their script, assisting them with those things. And even during the rehearsals, I was talking to one of the groups and they reminded me that even during my tenure, I would go out to make sure that the rehearsals were being done and that they didn't need anything extra to go forward. And that moral support is always important. But in addition, you must have the resources, the financial resources, at least a percentage up front so they can get started. Because when you think about the months of practice, and many of them practice for months, okay? They didn't just practice the week before. You're talking about refreshments for the young people who are coming there to perform up until 1 o'clock in the night. They're practicing. All of those things take money. You then have the persons who are going to be putting up the stage, it's not just a stage you're putting up, the decor and the creativity of the stage, all of those activities must be paid for, and therefore, you have to give them a percentage of money up front, and then towards the end, they also get the rest of the funding. So it has to be hand in hand. You have to know their needs. And so the top-down approach of sitting in an office and just deciding, okay, this is what you get and nothing else and whatever, and not truly understanding what it takes, because I now understand that they would have been responsible for infrastructure. Do you know what it takes to put down infrastructure for a festival? One that you're going to charge, because you're going to you have the fencing that needs to go up. You also have the, like I said, the arrangement on the stage itself. How are the photographers going to operate? The tents for the guests to stay. It's just, and in a place like Lekoto where you already have some rain, you can't just put down tents, you have to put down flats. It could range to an enormous cost. And just to tell them off the bat that, hey, you all are now responsible for infrastructure, but we'll take the bar receipts. Come on. Some of them, and let's not talk, there are entities that are still waiting to be paid from cultural activities in 2022, 2023, and now. We can't continue like that, because these persons who are waiting to be paid cannot afford to wait.
True. And during your tenure, what do you think the proposed wait period for? And in a situation like this where you have years of the festival debt piling up, how would you have treated with that?
when I came into office, I set down a policy that within 3 months, 3 to 6 months, we have to find ways to pay and get those things out of the way. And so we would have worked really hard. If I heard of anyone who is not paid, we made sure and go in, find out what is the reason, and find a way to get them paid.
Right,
but just having a rolling debt from, the assembly does not augur well.
What do you say to the persons who say that it is the staff, technical staff, that are responsible to ensure that they push these files, to take them to the administrator, to take them to the secretary, to ensure that they are signed off and paid?
Well, that tells me that you have poor leadership and poor management.
And
there are ways to manage your staff, and clearly you don't understand how to do that.
Right. And we saw that during the February 2024 Carnival, there was a significant downsizing for Tobago. We didn't see a Tobago Jazz Festival this year. Now we're seeing a downsizing of the Heritage Festival. Do you think that the resources are being channeled towards establishing a greater version of the Tobago Carnival?
It's unfortunate. Is Carnival Tobago's real culture? Yes, Carnival is part of our national culture. But you can't be telling people fight for greater autonomy in Tobago, and you're not protecting what is Tobago, which is the Tobago Heritage Festival. That is your greatest priority to protect and to ensure that it continues on, not this dismantling of the different activities that we're seeing. The Tobago Jazz Festival was a premier act on the island and even in the country and across the region. But we continue to see the dismantling of it instead of taking a look and saying, how can we get back into the competitive arena with it? And this is my challenge, that we seem to be anchored in incompetence and lost in governance.
And finally, what are some of the words of encouragement you have for Tobagonians who, as I would have asked today, they feel a bit slighted by the fact that some of their favorite shows may not be on?
Well, Tobagonians, we have to realize at the end of the day that the people hold the power. I think sometimes we forget that. Sometimes we get distracted by the next best party or the next best rally or the next best sports day. But you have to start thinking, what is the essential that is missing to finally put Tobago on the trajectory for progress and sustainable economic development, such that the average person doesn't have to worry about where my next bread coming from to feed my family, where the next money coming from to put shoes on my children's foot, where the next money coming from to give them the graduation that they deserve, because they're young people who have done exceedingly well, but they cannot afford even to graduate because their parents cannot afford it. And the time has come for you all to think beyond just, the fluff. We all live here. We all know the pain that people are experiencing across the island at this time. And therefore, we have to really think what is needed in Tobago, what is necessary, such that we can finally say that she didn't just become more beautiful, that the baby was birthed.
Right. And finally, what would you say to the persons who say, well, the truth is we just cannot sustain the festival in the way that it in the way that it was before, financially?
Rubbish.
All right.
This administration has gotten the most money ever out of any previous administration from Trinidad, and it tells me that there's poor money management and poor priority listing of what needs to be happening. If you understand that the true essence and the growth of anything begins at the community level. And if you understand that our culture is our wealth and our protection, even from issues of crime, then you would know where it would be best to spend the money. In a case like this, where you have had the economy so destroyed, and that's I would think that you would place priority at this time, maybe not on a road, but place more monies in the communities where you can ensure that the people have hope, that the people can come alive and be part of the productive Tobago that we need going forward. How can you expect persons to go to work and be truly productive when they're considering in the back of their minds that, hey, the little extra money I was going to make by selling popcorn in Pembroke, that's no more. So I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. Yes, I have a job, but it's not making ends meet. And that little end that I was going to get to pay for something is no more. How do you then expect them to be productive on their job that they have when they have no hope and such disappointment? So it goes further. When you tamper with the culture, you're tampering with a lot. They need to be mindful of that.
Right. And you heard it here, guys. That was the opinions of former Secretary for the Division of Community Development and Culture at that time, Dr. Denise Tsoiafatt Angus. And Gishi was here giving her perspective on the 2024 Heritage Festival. So we want to thank her for coming in this morning. We want to thank you for coming to Tobago Updates. And we want to thank you, our viewing audience, for adding your likes, your shares, and commenting, and doing all that you can to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster on the island of Tobago. Have a great day, guys.